These two men were convicted of kidnapping, rape, and sodomy because of the testimony of a complainant who recanted her accusations just 2 weeks ago.
Van Dyke Perry says he hopes to establish a youth program to mentor children who are at risk of incarceration.
Have you ever felt that the criminals, or let me say clearly an accused criminal, spent a lot of years in prison and then suddenly convicted free? And icing on the cake, what if the prisoner has not done any crime? It's an unthinkable moment for them and, of course, for their family. Well, you might be shocked after seeing the wholesome and insane reactions of convicts that are set free of their crime. When the Honduran immigrant was charged with the murder of 2 women, it all began in 2004. On death row was a man who had actually been given the death penalty. So this is the story of Clemente Aguirre. You'll say I'm making the story up if I tell it to you. Can't be real. 4 months and 14 days later. I've spent 3 months of my years in prison in the chamber.
From the start, Aguirre Harkin said he found the women dead, that he tried to help, and that's how their blood got on his clothes and his footprints.
In Altamonte, Florida, on June 25, 2004, Clemente, then 24 years old, was charged with first-degree murder and burglary, a crime he did not commit. According to Aguirre Harkin, he discovered the women dead and attempted to aid them. As a result, their blood went on his clothes and his footprint. His neighbors, Cheryl Williams, 47, and Carol Barris, 68, were stabbed to death in a horrific act. Clemente argued his innocence, but authorities determined he was the only plausible culprit, and they gave him the death penalty despite his protests. Throughout his 14 years on death row, Clemente never gave up seeking justice. Additionally, he wasn't mistaken. It turns out that Samantha Schell's daughter had an intermittent explosive disorder before the murder and was found in the bathroom with blood on it, according to the prosecution, and within inches of the mother's body. The mother's blood was next seen on the outside of the daughter's window, followed by a trail of the daughter's blood leading to the bathroom. A few years before this incident, she also threatens to kill her mother in the doctor's notes. "I'll kill you all if I ever manage to leave this place." Then we learn that she confessed to everyone in town. We had witnesses from all over the place testify under oath that she had slain both her mother and grandma. To you I'll do it. With such overwhelming evidence accusing Cheryl's kid, Clemente's day had finally come. I am aware that nobody, with the exception of my mother, believed me, and for that I thank you. He fights back tears and walks straight to his loved ones to celebrate. However, today is a better new day, and I have high hopes for the future. This is Devontae Sanford, who was wrongfully convicted of a terrible quadruple homicide in 2007 and given a sentence of 37 to 90 years in jail. At the time, he was only 14 years old. Just 3 streets away from a brutal crime scene involving 4 persons and an AK-47 assault rifle, Devontae was being detained while still wearing his pajamas as he walked outside his house. Devontae was escorted to the neighborhood police station, where it became clear that the officers used leading questions and details from the case to force him into a false confession. Making matters worse, his counsel at the time failed to assist by persuading him to plead guilty. This is what his present attorney said. To ensure they could convict this young man, they falsified evidence over the course of their targeting of him and engaged in perjury. But the story took another turn just 3 weeks later, and the hitman Vincent Smothers provided that twist. Smothers was detained in connection with 12 homicides, 4 of which turned out to be the case in which Sanford was found guilty. The Northwestern Center for Wrongfully Convicted Youth became concerned about the Justice Court's inaction and campaigned to reopen the case, which resulted in D. Monte's release in 2016, a homecoming that had been 9 years in the making. It's interesting to see that Devontae appreciates one person in particular for giving him independence, Smothers. Not the police, yet he kept me safe. The police exploited him. I can move, breathe, and just be at ease because of this man.
In the course of their targeting him, they literally fabricated evidence and committed perjury in order to ensure that this young man, that they could get a conviction.
It turns out that Sanford may have suffered as a result of his prolonged period of unjustified imprisonment, since he had a difficult time reintegrating into society. Devontae Sanford is experiencing brand new major problems. The 25-year-old was found guilty of murder in Detroit before being found innocent and getting his freedom. In 2018, he was detained for assault, but this time there was no hitman to shoulder the blame. Gregory Counts, then 19 years old, and Van Dyke Perry, then 21, received life sentences in jail in 1991 for a crime they did not commit. The victim was forced into a car and transported to Central Park, where she was repeatedly raped, while being held at knife point in front of her Queens residence. She stated that Counts, Perry, and a third unidentified male were the culprits. The Innocence Project reopened its investigation into the Counts and Perry case in 2017, after 11 years had passed since their convictions utilizing newly tested DNA. Both Counts and Perry's semen from the victim were cleared by DNA. It brought them to a dead man. Crazy, huh? Why then would the victim fabricate such a horrible tale and jail two innocent men? Your blood will start to boil at the response. The complainant now acknowledges that her boyfriend forced her to fabricate a sexual assault claim against these men. Her boyfriend was attempting to avoid owing these two men money. All that to save my guy from debt. What we do to make money. Let's look at it. Although they are free and reintegrating back into society, Counts and Perry try their best to suppress their feelings as they sit in court and hear the sweet sound of liberation reverberating throughout. It is now obvious that both of these men will be plagued by this dreadful, unfair story for the rest of their lives. There will never be an end to it. The cause is due to the suffering it causes me. Then there's my past.
The complainant now admits that her boyfriend forced her to lie and falsely claim these men sexually assaulted her. Her boyfriend was trying to avoid having to pay a debt to these two men.
New Jersey 1993 Tito Moreno, 22, was killed in his video store. Another horrific stabbing death for Eric. Both Kelly and Ralph Lee was found guilty of a crime they had nothing to do with. Police pieced together the entire narrative using coercion and a shaky eyewitness. They then utilized Lee in opposition to those claims, which was how they successfully proved Lee's guilt. Eric and Ralph didn't have to start a glimmer of hope for their cause until the Innocence Initiatives became engaged once more. The state then simply redoubled its efforts. Instead, they are simply, blindly adhering to this conviction at all costs. They refused to look into this other individual, refused to talk to him, and didn't dig into his background. At the end of 11 years, Lee was freed. After serving 24 years in jail, Kelly was finally released in 2018, but only after fresh DNA evidence was presented to the judge in court. As a result, and this is what I found interesting, we see Judge Joseph Portelli in full Karen mode. Pay attention to what I have to say. An instance of justice, freedom after 24 years of unjustified imprisonment seems like a very excellent reason to celebrate. We don't know about you.
And the state has just dug in their heels ever since. They refused to investigate this other person, refused to talk to him, didn't look into his history, and instead are just, blindly clinging to this conviction at all costs.
Therefore, in light of the foregoing reasons, the motion to file a both defendants count 3 of Kelly. This is not a moment of choice. This is a moment justice, okay? It's not something to celebrate or not celebrate.
Mainly, I want to eat. I'm a little hungry. Be with my legal team. I want to thank them. I want to thank my family. First and foremost, it's been a long time. I just don't know. I'm just out of words, baby. I'm just feeling good right now. That's all.
What would you want someone who didn't know anything about your case to know?
I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent man.
Lee and Kelly didn't allow it to make them feel down. Both of them were ravenous, in a good mood, and grateful to everyone who had helped secure their release. I want to eat and be with my legal team most of all. They have my gratitude. I want to start off by thanking my family. It has been a while. I'm just not sure. Just at a loss for words. I simply feel good at the moment. What information would you want a person with no prior knowledge of your situation to have? I am a man of innocence. I am a good dude. Wool's well. All's well that ends well, right? Is Juan Ignacio Catalan, the defendant of People vs. Catalan, your real name? This is Juan Catalan, the comic relief. An alibi was captured on film, but not in the way you might expect. Martha Pueblo, a 316-year-old witness in a gang murder case, was shot and killed in front of her Sun Valley, California home on May 13, 2000. 3 months later, the FBI detained Juan Catalan, 24, after conducting a raid in front of his family's machine shop. Juan was questioned for several hours. It seems that they had a ton of evidence against him already. A witness with a similar appearance to you, who was due to testify against your brother, is brutally murdered. It doesn't seem promising. Juan, though, maintains his innocence and accuses the officers of trying to pin the wrongly accused. You guys are all going to kill me for this, right? Did you commit a murder? Wait a second. Those are some powerful literary terms. I didn't murder anyone. I would never murder someone. Never in a million years would I harm someone. Tell us otherwise.
You guys are gonna take away my life for this bullshit. You killed somebody. Wait a minute. Those are very strong words right there. I did not kill nobody. I would never kill nobody. I never do anything to hurt anybody. Convince us otherwise.
As things became more complicated, Juan recalled that he had been watching the Dodgers play that day with his daughter. But what are the possibilities that someone would catch him at a stadium filled with tens of thousands of people? And how likely is it that you'd be able to find that footage? This is where the case starts to get crazy, though. However, Juan was not aware that the Dodgers cam was recording him. By chance, Catalan and his daughter managed to be in the same aisle as Seinfeld creator and Curb Your Enthusiasm actor Larry David, who was filming an episode. I picked up a hooker in the car, pulled into the parking lot, and drove her to Dodger Stadium in the incident. Are there any chances? Juan's attorney contacted HBO, obtained access to the episode's video, and played the tapes. He had spent hours researching with no results, was out of tape, and thought he would never be able to find what he wanted. The once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to have an alibi recorded appeared. And I said, "That's him," pointing at the TV. "That is him. Reverse that." That made me incredibly happy and grateful. What are your thoughts on the reactions above? Do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you like our work, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.